Sure.
Hey everyone, happy Valentine's Day. It is kind of funny to me that this is our 14th Homes and Money Realtor Mastermind, and it is the 14th of February. So it's obviously just a coincidence, but I'm thrilled to have Megan Stacey with us today. And she is obviously a top producer here in the city, and I'm super excited to have her on. Megan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I have to tell the group, I had to employ my sister-in-law, who used to teach with Megan, to twist her arm a little bit to get her to be on, because she was blowing me off for a little bit. So no, I'm kidding.
It
But
worked.
yeah, it did
Gotta
work.
leverage that connection sometimes.
It did work. So Megan, thanks for joining us. And obviously, I just said that you haven't been in real estate your whole career. But before we get to that, have you been in Cincinnati your whole life? Is this where you grew up?
Yes, I grew up in Anderson, and then went to Guardian Angels and McNicholas, and then ventured all the way up to Oxford, Ohio, to Miami, and came back and got my master's degree at Xavier. So I've only ventured 45 minutes away. Yes.
Awesome. And so you didn't start in real estate. You got your master's, I assume, in education. Talk to us about before real estate, and then what made you get into real estate.
Sure. So as you know, because that's why you twisted my arm, good tactic. So I taught, actually my mom just retired from teaching, and my sister's a school counselor in Forest Hills. So I was raised in a family of teachers. And so I was in business at Miami, cried to my mom that I wanted to do something that made more of a difference in the world than business, which I'll talk about. So I switched to education and got my degree in elementary education. I taught third grade in Forest Hills at Sherwood Elementary. And then I went to school at night to get my master's degree in principal license, because I've always been a sort of what's my next promotion, what's the next opportunity kind of person. And then I became an assistant principal also in Forest Hills School District at Wilson Elementary. And then I was the elementary curriculum coordinator for the district. So that's how I know your sister-in-law. She was the reading specialist. So I coordinated all 6 elementaries.
Awesome. And then just got tired of fourth graders, or
no,
what happened?
The math was too complicated. No. So I was the high school teachers actually are really what drove me out, since I know your wife's no. So honestly, I'm a growth mindset person, and I was basically, my next step would have been superintendent. So I was going to school at night to get my superintendent license. I was expecting our first child. And, at the end of the day, the school system, because I like to be an agent of change, I like to make a difference. And essentially, I was selling a message I didn't believe. I was in charge of rolling out the new curriculum. And I always felt like the kids and the teachers and the parents deserved more. And the way the system is structured, unfortunately, I couldn't be 100% honest with them about how we couldn't help them or give them services they needed. And so it just became really discouraging, and a career that I got into to help people actually ended up feeling like my hands were always tied, if that makes sense.
I may or may not hear some of that at home myself. So
yeah. So it's ironic that you get into a career to help people. And then I was expecting our first child. So I finished, but I became a mom. And if you are going to be an administrator, I know as realtors, we're pretty much married to our businesses as well, but you physically have to live in that building from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I wasn't sure, because, I'm still not the breadwinner for my family. So I was not sure how that was going to work as a mother. And so I decided to jump ship, and I did not get into real estate first, which I'll talk about. But so that's what made me leave.
Okay. And then what happened? So you didn't go to real estate.
So I wanted to get into real estate because my husband is in a related field. He's a lender, and he said no, even though he's a super supportive person. He told me I needed to leave education, that had never seen me so miserable. I loved the people. Again, it was just a frustrating career path. And so he said, no, people will take it the wrong way. You will be very successful, and that will hurt my business. And I said, well, what if we don't work together? And he said, that's fine, but still no, it's a conflict of interest. So I got into marketing and sales. So I sold air, literally sold air, my very first sales job for Q102, Hubbard Interactive. And we did social media management and sales. And they made me like the rookie of the year. But I was still tied to a desk. And even though it was 100% commission opportunity, it was not the opportunity that I needed to pay for a nanny and like to have leaving my one child at the time. It didn't make financial sense by the time you pay childcare and all the things. So then I said, I don't want to stay at home. And his mentor at the time said, you need to support, this is what she wants to do. Like, let her do it. So that's when I got into real estate. And so May of 2015 is when I was licensed.
Awesome. So was that an easier transition because you were going from 100% commission to basically real estate 100% commission? Was that easier than, say, if you would have gone from education to real estate? Do you think?
No, I was like a human on Mars, like going from education, as you know, because you have educators in your family, to business are literally completely opposite. And so it actually was a good next step from a professional development standpoint, because I at least like knew a little bit of business lingo. Because education, you're talking to 8 and 9-year-olds pretty much all day. So, it's a big change. But actually, my one of my mentors in real estate had actually shared with me a lot of teachers and educators who get into real estate are very successful because they're not salespeople. Like, I'm still not a salesperson. I'm an educator and I want to educate people on their options. And so I thought that it was an easy transition because I could be more transparent with clients than I could be in my old career, if that makes sense.
That's big. I think that's an awesome perspective to have, that you're here to educate, and by doing that, you provide enough value that they trust you for the business. So you're with Coldwell Banker. Have you
Yep.
been there since 2015, or was there a stop before?
Yes. No. I started with Keller Williams Advisors in Columbia, Tusculum. Loved it. It was a great place. They really taught me a lot about how to run your own business, how to be an entrepreneur. I had an opportunity to attend every training that they had, teach some trainings as well. And so I made, let's see, what year did I change? I can tell you everything in my life based on what kid was born at that time. Our middle child, who I thought was our baby, Ford, was born in 2016. So after that, I really had a desire to grow a team, and I had met with Coldwell Banker and felt that they were a good fit to help me really figure out how to grow a team. So that was probably
Awesome.
2017 or 2018 is I think when I moved to Coldwell Banker.
Right. And so you mentioned that your husband is also in the business, and great at what he does. Did he have some insight in potentially what brokerage to go to, or was that
No, so we
not
kind
even
of are
listening?
funny. Yeah, we're kind of funny like that. Like, I always say, like, I'm not a lender and I don't play one on TV. When people ask me like legal questions, I'm like, I'm not a lawyer and I don't play like,
Yeah.
so what I'd say I learned the most from him being in a related field is to stay in your freaking lane. So like, he'll always say like, I don't know what realtors do. I mean, and I always say like, people say like, what are rates? I'm like, I don't know what your credit is. I don't know, what your income is. And I don't want, because I have a sphere-based business, I don't want to know what their finances are. And so same thing, like he didn't really know anything about brokerages. And so no, we like run church and state because it's what keeps us married for 14 years. So
That's a good management system.
on
So
Valentine's Day, I'll express my love that, I bless the husband and wife teams. I don't know if you've interviewed any like husband and wife teams but that's amazing. I do not know how they do that.
yeah,
They're my heroes.
yeah. So 2017, you make the switch to Caldwell Banker, decided you wanted to build a team. What did that look like for you in terms of, okay, this is the first piece that I need. This is the first thing that I need to step out of, or being able to provide more education and value to my clients. What was your first realization in that?
So since realtors are mostly our audience here, 2016, although I've had other things in my life that have happened that have been tragic, was one of the darkest. Like everyone's like, you're the most successful rookie, you're doing great, your business is doubling. Behind the scenes, it was like one of the ugliest years of my life. Our second child wasn't sleeping. We both worked 7 days a week. We were trading off like in the middle of the night, like, and both of us had no team systems or processes. So if we did not do the work, it did not get done. And I could never, I was so desperate that even though my business was doubling, I was like, I have to quit. I can't do this. It's been great. I've loved it, but I cannot live like this because my quality of life is so poor that it's not worth it to our family for me to run around, show the houses, write the contracts, do the marketing, all the things that we do. And so I came to Coldwell Banker and I shared with you that I had to have a business coach. And I literally, from start to finish, did whatever the business coach said. I was like his most coachable student because as a teacher, I try to be a good student. And I'm like, I'll do whatever you say from step one all the way to today because I'm so desperate because I can't live this quality of life anymore. So
Okay.
desperation is what got me there.
Yeah. And then the first hire, was it a transaction coordinator type position, or what was your first piece to implement?
So I kind of equate it to like a Titanic situation where like all I was doing was like patching the hole and that's not going to keep the ship afloat. So I had a transaction coordinator when I was at my other brokerage that was working with several other agents. And I had a showing assistant who's now our primary buyer specialist, Liz Heidi. And she had another job at the time and literally just showed on nights and weekends for us. And so when I transitioned over to Coldwell Banker, it was twofold. It was getting Liz to be a full-time buyer specialist. So we got her transition to that. And then we hired I think it was like 20 or 25 hour a week transaction. We call it client care because I'm not a transactional person, and that story, Coldwell Banker helped me interview 30 candidates. We brought it down to 3. They're like, this is your best candidate. And I was like, it can't be, because the person they brought as my best candidate was one of my best friends who had just moved back to Cincinnati, Tracy Nest-Tidy, who is our home suite NKY specialist, rock star realtor on our team now. And I knew she was going to be a bad transaction coordinator. And she was terrible because she's a great salesperson and brings in so much business. And so anyway, I made those hires and off we went, the 3 of us, kind of as our first team.
Okay. What's the team look like today? How many people?
I kept them because they're amazing, but they're just in different roles. So Tracy was like coordinating closings and getting coffee with the clients. And I was like, no. You just send in the title paper. You do not get drinks with them. Like I need you to focus. And so she runs our business solely on the Northern Kentucky side. So, I told you I've been from Cincinnati my whole life. I don't have a lot of expertise in Kentucky, and we were always referring our business out in Kentucky. So we really helped build her up in Kentucky and Ohio as well. And then Liz is our primary buyer specialist. Right now there's 9 of us. So we have the agents on our team, as well as then we have 2 admins, one who is a client care specialist, team manager, and one who's a listing specialist.
Awesome. So, I mean, I'm going to stop on this for a second. You've got 9 people and you've already talked about kind of repurposing 2 of your team members. Has that been a constant for you? And is that like you were an administrator or went to school for that? How did you identify that they needed to be in other roles, and how quickly do you make that decision and determination?
Well, it is a colleague reached out to Tracy one time, someone that was on a team and then left the team, and said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm meeting with Megan. We have our annual business planning and we're going to decide what makes sense for us moving forward to be on the same team. And he's like, what? Because basically every year I give everyone an opportunity to say this is not a fit for either one of us, because at the end of the day, it's my job as team lead to help grow potential in the members of our team professionally, and vice versa. They have to be adding value. Our clients have to be raving fans, and they have to be a cultural fit. So I think when you find and hire talent, literally, and that's what I love about our business, like the sky is the limit, right? So I knew Tracy would be a bad transaction coordinator because that's not her skill set. She and I are very similar personality types. She's a growth mindset person. And I knew that she was going to quickly be bored by the details of the closing, etc. So when I knew she wasn't working out, we were just really transparent. Like, is this a good fit for your family? Is this financially a good fit? All the things have to make sense for that partnership to continue. Just like when you're purchasing a home, it has to be like the cost and value and everything that it brings to the table have to make sense for you. Or the answer is don't buy the house. And the same is with our team. Like, if this doesn't make sense for you, I wish you well, but it's not a fit. So yeah, I've had to work to find opportunities, and we've, basically now I coach our team, which has been fun. I care more now about the opportunities it's created in the lives of the women that we work with than I do about what it's done for me. And that's like why I get out of bed every morning.
That's great. And
It's
so
like changed their lives. It's amazing. So
yeah, and so you're doing, I think there's a key point here is that you're doing an annual review as a manager or a leader of your team and your organization, and you're doing an annual review not just to figure out and set goals and determine where you're going to go the following year, but you're also assessing talents, and you're asking them if it's still a good fit. Are we still good to work together? I think that's huge. And the fact that you're willing to give them the opportunity to walk away and go off on their own or into another, field, as painful as that might be, it's still ultimately the right question to ask at the end of each year. So that's huge.
it is. It's the same with sellers. I tell sellers or buyers, it's a reputation-based business. We don't want you running around cursing our name. So if you're not satisfied, like if you're not satisfied as a team member or a client, let's have the conversation and let's move forward, because I don't want people festering that they're not happy on our team or that they're not happy with our services. Like this is a at will employment situation for both, So it either is a fit and I can't be for everyone, I mean, maybe we're not, maybe they don't like that we're just transparent, tell it like it is, but that's how we are. So
Sure. So this mastermind is mainly for real estate agents. It's not something that we send to clients unless you do.
right.
But I guess one question I would ask is, now that you have 9 people, how involved are you in the day-to-day transactions with buyers? Because it's ultimately still, the Megan Stacey team, right?
Yeah. So my coach would say I'm too involved still and that I'm a control freak. And he would say that with love and make fun of me. But because we do not use Zillow, so I've never used Zillow. We don't use any lead generation source other than old school. So all of these people, unless they're from like a mom's Facebook group, because the moms do like love us because we're mostly moms, but they are a relationship. So I feel because they weren't generated by a paid lead that I have to be involved at some level, because if I run into them on the playground, at the coffee shop, at a cocktail party, I want to know that they went to go see 1234 Main Street last night and they didn't like it. So I stay on group texts with the buyers and we call it like the Smith home search, and then we use an internal app that's called Voxer. And it's how I audio message with my entire team. So like everything, like I always say, like, do not call my team, not clients, but like the team, do not call unless like something is dying on the table, the house is on fire, like do not call, because we use this messaging system. And so the expectation is that they tell us what house they showed, what the clients thought about it, because I know these people and I care about these people and I want to know. So I'm very involved. Some agents I know, when I say, yay, we're excited, we have, Fifth Street under contract with you, they look at me like I have 9 heads, and that's fine. But the teacher in me would like die inside if that happened. Like, I want to know every house we have under contract, every buyer we're serving, what are they seeing? What are they looking for?
Nice. It's not just the other agents that like deer in the headlights look. Most lenders, identify with last names and not addresses. And
I
so,
know.
we have to go through the same exercise. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
could probably grow our business more if I would care less. I know that sounds silly, but like I'm my own worst enemy in that regard, but it's something I won't let go. So here
yeah.
we go.
Well, okay. So then you mentioned this earlier in that your passion is to educate and to provide options for your clients buying or selling. So how have you taken some of your education background and now use that in business on a day-to-day basis?
I wish I had a picture of it. But so from a process standpoint, like we are guiding our clients through the same process from start to finish, 150 to 200 times a year, however many houses we sell in any given year. And we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So, yes, the people are different, they have unique needs, properties are different, but from a communication systems and process standpoint, from start to finish, as I'm onboarding, so I have a very like curriculum based onboarding system for new agents on our team. And then I have a very structured, like, this is what we send them, this is how we communicate with them, this is what this looks like, literally a graphic organizer chart from start to finish, because we are guiding people through a process that the contract very clearly states what the steps are. So we don't have to like come up with our own ideas. Like it is not something we need to be creative about, right? It's like there's the built-in contingency of the contract and we're educating them. Now, how to present your house for the market, how to help find a great fit on a home that you're going to buy. Those are all things that I believe that we can do deep dives education wise, but start to finish on the contracts, we don't need to reinvent a wheel that's existed since the beginning of home sales.
How long did it take you to develop that?
Well, I worked with a mentor, and over the years, as you know, it's exciting because as our business has grown, it has been refined. So, like, I really believe in the mentality adapt or die. So it's like I'm constantly working with our team to refine our system and process because I would not say we have a perfect system, a perfect process, or we've arrived. But I know now as we've grown and had more agents join our team that it is built for growth. And that means it's sustainable to me.
Nice. So when you review that, how often do you review it with your team? Is this a weekly, monthly, quarterly, process review type thing?
No, I'll always be 100% transparent. I should have like an auditing system in place that I don't have. Really, when we're onboarding, so like onboarding agents, which has happened quite frequently over the last couple of years, which has been as a result of the need, right? Like we need more, I always say hands and hearts and minds, because that's a teacher thing, to like serve our clients, right? But like we really need more arms and legs to open doors too, but quality control. So really, as we are growing our team and we are onboarding people, I am, because I do all the onboarding. Okay. Because I have to like put my stamp on it. So it's like today I had an onboarding meeting with a new agent on our team. And I'm like, like I was like thinking, wow, I don't like how we do that, so it's constant as we're onboarding. And then usually when we're refining our marketing things, like Coldwell Banker changed their logo. So we had to do all of our marketing pieces again. So that was a natural time to look through them again and say, do we need to change this? So I should create a time, but so far I've touched it probably twice a year. So
That's good. At least it's being refined on a regular basis. Um, so given that you are 100% referral based, um, do you have a specific niche that you work in?
well, I used to tell you it was growing families, because I not too long ago was a girl, had that my little surprise COVID baby. And now suddenly we've hit the divorce phase of our lives, apparently, which sucks. Like I liked when people were calling me because they were pregnant. Because I love pregnant ladies because they have a place they need to be. They need a nursery. They like whippy coyote. That's what they need. And now it's like, hey, can we meet for coffee somewhere where we don't know anyone? And I'm like, oh no. So our bread and butter was growing families. And now that I guess this is 40 post COVID, I don't know. We serve a lot of like, unfortunately, families getting divorced, but we don't serve a lot of empty nesters. But again, I think because I run a sphere and referral based business, that's not the life phase that I'm in right now. Right. So I've been from here my whole life. So I spend a lot of time giving back to the community, and who we serve is usually, has some connection to organizations that I support or have been a member of for a long time, or my past career, those kinds of things.
Nice. Um, I'm going to throw you a curveball. If you've watched
Yippee.
any of the masterminds before, I don't know that I've asked this question, but maybe once. So since you have this heart to educate and to walk people through the process, does that change your social media strategy in terms of business? Not necessarily Megan the mom, et cetera, but does that change your strategy in terms of the content that you put out?
I wish it did. So I'm actually looking for someone right now, because what I've learned growing the business is when you have leverage, right, you can accomplish more. And to be honest, have had two of my three kids have been born while I've been growing this business. We don't have maternity leave, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like nonstop. And I wish our social media were better. And every time I think I find somebody that I'm fitting a round hole into a square peg to help. So I do the social media, all of it, because I won't let someone else be our social media voice. I won't, but I need some support, like filming. Like I love to do more education like this. So thanks for the opportunity. I would honestly love to educate buyers and sellers and other agents more than I have the capacity to do so. And I think video is clearly a great way to do that. I just don't have, like, I have an interview on Thursday with someone to like follow us with the gimbal, to like talk more, like the things I say every day. And I think we all do this, right? Like I have the same things I say to clients all the time, but I don't even realize I'm saying it because it's such second nature. And that is better than all the stupid things that I like subscribe to that I could post about, right? Like our experience and our knowledge is the most valuable thing. We just don't sometimes give that any worth, and it has all the worth in the world.
For
So
sure.
I'd like to do more of that. And I'd like to be what we call like a prosumer of content more than just a consumer. But I think because we all in our businesses wear like every hat, right? Like every hat, we can't always put out what we like want to. And sometimes we just put stuff out to check the box. So I'd like to do that more.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was at one of our lenders last week, and it was a meeting for a bunch of broker owners, and a peer of mine from Maine that I've known for a while. I did not know this about her. She said that the first hire that she made was a videographer. And she said, I knew I would do business, and I knew if I started by the processor and the loan assistant, et cetera, I would never hire the videographer. And like you
Right.
said, she realized that the stuff that she repeats herself on, once it's captured on video, you can just simplify your life so much by producing that information and just sending it off when you get the next question. What's escrow, right? Then you send that response to somebody.
I
So
think you
yeah,
did a video about that, didn't you?
I did. Thank you.
Yeah. See,
That was fresh in my mind, but
I'm a
yeah,
good student.
yeah,
Patrick was asking a question in the chat about how much time is spent on social media.
yeah. So
Not enough. And that's where like the leverage, like I would actually like that, which everyone would say you should hire someone to do that. I don't want to, because guess what? As team lead, I get to choose my job description. So, but I wish I could spend more time. So I'm working on 3 business goals this year. One is operations refinement. So the more I can refine my systems and process, the less I have to do to run the business, which I spend more time on than I'd like, to be honest. Um, and so that's, to me, once that happens, it would free me up more to spend more time on social media. Number 2 is production expectations. So in order to have a seat at the table, as now I feel like we finally have like, you know, uh, established brand. I'm not really sure how to say that because I do a bad job of like our humble brag that we're supposed to do in our business. But like you have to sell a certain amount of real estate to sit at the table and say that you're on this team. And so that was my new thing that I implemented this year. Like, here's the minimum to sit here, because I'm not going to manage people that aren't producing.
mhm.
Um, as Tracy says, ruthless. And then number 3, lead gen strategies. And so I am from here my whole life. I'm involved in everything. I love being involved. And so if I could spend more time on social media and more time face-to-face connecting with people, that would continue to grow our business. And so I've got to get out of the weeds. to do that.
That's
So
great.
I try to spend more time on social media, but by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm done now. So I do want to create this videographer. I want to have more grab and go content like escrow. I want to have these videos to be like, oh, I'll grab this and post it versus like, what am I posting today? So
It's funny you say that because I've created hundreds of pieces of content and never done one like what's involved in your payment or what is escrow, right? And then all of a sudden you see that you're getting a lot of traction on those and you're like, man, I'm so stupid. I should have done this 2 years ago, right?
because it's
So,
obvious to us and we think it's like not interesting, and everyone in our business thinks that like you have to like be talking about like the sexy next thing, and that's
mhm.
why half the people that get into real estate don't stay in real estate because they think it's what they see on social media. And I posted something at like 6 a.m. that I was working, and this is like what it looks like I'm in photo shoots and getting awards and going to happy hours, and I'm actually like talking about termites and going to check on a running toilet, and like it's like the perception versus reality in real estate are two different things, but nobody ever like posts about or whatever, all the other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So everybody on this call, Patrick most recently has young kids. Miranda's on here, Lindsay's on here, you're on here, and Patrick and his wife just had a new
Yes,
baby.
congratulations.
Yeah. So how do you and you mentioned that you're really good at church and state at home with Drew, but how do you create that balance if that is such a thing for yourself as a mother and a wife and a team lead? Um,
Well, there's no such thing, right? In general. So number one, there's no such thing. Number two, it's the who, not how, and the leverage. So if I've thought about, speaking of social media, I'm like, I need to do a video about this. I don't do my own laundry. I don't do my own grocery shopping. I don't cook dinner. I don't know. All the things I don't do. I don't clean my house. Whatever. So all these things, like I have this huge business, right? And I don't do those things. But as a woman specifically, I do take on, I always like give my husband a hard time. I'm like, what are the kids' theme day today at school? What are they supposed to wear? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, see, and like, shout out to Scott Euler is not worrying about that. Like, I'm like, whatever, but it's like women do specifically more than dads take on all these worries that school puts on us. And I don't have the answer because I still want to wear my heart earrings for Valentine's Day. Like I can't let that go.
mhm.
But I need leverage in order to do that. And so I had to let go of the things that most people think they have to do themselves. I had to, because you can't do it all. And someone once told me like you can have it all, but not at the same time. And I disagree with that. You can have it all, but you can't do it all, which is where a team comes in place and where leverage comes in place. And our business, unfortunately, as you know, both lenders and agents, is not family friendly. So respectful to all of us, no one gives a crap if I had a baby yesterday or if my kid's homesick, or it is their largest financial investment and no one cares if I'm on the soccer field. So I've taught my team to say, would you like to see the house? Let me check on the availability. Meanwhile, scrambling behind the scenes to figure out what I can make happen. And would you be available at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock to see the house? Or are you available after 4 p.m. for a call? So I always have coached my team, which right now is still all women because I don't think a guy could put up with us. But anyway, so one of my friends always jokes that he's gonna be the first male in the Megan Stacey group, but he can be, but like he won't put up with us. But nobody cares about us. And I know that sounds really harsh, but like I have been very sick, very like literally in the hospital and not, yes, I've blown you off because you're not a client, but like with clients, I just say, we'll get back to you right away, or we'll do this or we'll do that. Because so as much as I build rapport and relationships, I don't really share what's going on with us. And I think that's the best way to create the balance, because you're creating a boundary, but you're not putting your SHIT like back on your clients because they'll just hire somebody else.
Sure.
Right. So that's like the boundary, but behind the scenes is messy. I mean, we're making calls on weekends and I'm like waiting for nap time, but I don't tell my clients I'm waiting for nap time. Great. Can I call you between 11 and 1?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think you got to keep your clients out of your personal life.
Sure. So do you mentioned the I don't want to say it wrong. Was it Vox is the internal app?
Voxer. Yeah.
Voxer. Okay. So you mentioned the internal app that you use and so that you're involved in everything. And I know this may be something that we talk about as a group, but do you actually ask your client if it's acceptable for one of your other team members to show them the house?
Oh
Like if you're
no, I don't ask. So here's the thing is, I'm gonna get this wrong because I already did. There's some quote about expectations, and it's not the same as opinions. I'm like opinions, expectations are like, you know what, everyone has one. No, it's how do we set the expectations to provide the best client experience? And so I don't show buyers houses, and I had to get out of my own way on that a lot. And my business coach had to like be like, you're not special. You think everyone loves you. You're a narcissist. Like we had to go through this whole thing. And I'm like, but I'm not special. Like, but I think they love me, but they want good service. That's what I'm saying. They don't care that I'm like literally like birthing a baby. Like they don't care about me. They want good service. They want to get in the house. They want to be taken care of. Okay. So I say, now, I don't know what I'll say when the market, I'll come up with a new script when the market changes, but I say to provide you the very best service, we're going to have a team serve you. So we're going to create a group text with myself and one of our buyer specialists so that one of the two of us is always on call to serve you. So I have a nanny who happens to be our cousin who's been with us for 9 years. And she is from 7:30 to 5. I don't tell clients when I have a nanny, but that's when I have a client, so if one of my clients wants to see a house during that time, I might pop in just to like smile and pretty house, but the buyer specialist will still be there. Okay. The nights and weekends, unless they're out of town, the buyer specialist is the one running around. Now on the weekends, if they have 2 hours to write the offer because they're showing it, and we all know how the market is right now, I'll start preparing the paperwork if I'm by my laptop at home, or I'll run comp, I'll do whatever I can to pitch in. But I say to buyers who are a little bit resistant to that, when my own mother, who never bought the house, by the way, my own mother was searching for houses, one of our buyer specialists also helped serve her, because I never want you to miss out on a house because of our availability. We have someone on call literally from 8 to 9 every day, but I don't run, like, no offense to whatever it was called that I think is out of our market now. What was it called? Like Uber for opening doors, Redfin. I don't know. Anyway, no offense to them, but that was like a different person every time. That's not how my team is structured. You get a dedicated buyer specialist who is serving you, and I'm copied. Now, if that buyer specialist is out of town or has a personal thing, they have one of the other buyer specialists cover for them. So
that's good. That's good. I was curious. I agree with you. I don't think you ask for permission. You just state, this is how we're going to best serve you, right? This is how we're going to provide
and
you
I
the best.
stay involved, and they know that I know, because I'll see them when the pool's open. You can't wait for that. Like I'll see them at the pool and say, oh my gosh, what did you think about that house on Shaw? Gosh, yeah, I know it needed more work than you thought, whatever. But like I have conversation that's on point that lets them know that I know what's going on, but I don't have to be the one to open the door. Now, second showings, inspection. I mean, I pop in to see the house. I try to see almost every house we sell, but that's not feasible, everyone, but they're in better hands, not with me. And the ones that like demand me, they always get me, and the buyer specialist comes along and I'm like, you don't want me. I'm telling you, you don't, because I'm doing the market, I'm doing all the other things, and the buyer specialist is solely focused on that. So sometimes we go along together, which seems like a waste of resources, but it kind of shows them that like, this is how valuable this person is. So
that's great. That's great. Okay. My last question for you, and then I'll open it up if anybody else has a question. I always ask this at the end. What advice do you have for your fellow top producers as this market continues to evolve? Like we talked about on the pre-call, you have a feeling that March is just going to burst open, right? It's going to kind of let loose with the people that have been holding on to things. But what advice do you have for your fellow top producers in terms of succeeding in this market?
I think continuing to work collaboratively, we are all working towards the same goal. So when agents feel like we're adversaries and we need to that, to me, back to like being the teacher, we're all working towards the same goal. Yes, we have to wear the hat, as our client's fiduciary, but we're trying to work towards the same goal. So let's work together to make that happen. Being nice goes a long way. Being responsive goes a long way. So I always say we can only control our level of reasonableness, responsiveness, and professionalism. When a client, not a client, when a co-op agent ghosts you because sorry, they're a firefighter or a teacher or whatever, that's not my problem or my client's problem. Like same of like, sorry, I'm on the soccer field. No one cares. Like do your job. So I think just being professional, fulfilling the contract deadlines, like all those things just go a long way. And I would like to credit that of how like you would put us in the category, which is like literally someone pinched me. I don't know how that happened. Top producing team, because I think you just do the right thing. You're honest with people, you treat them well, and that pays tenfold. And the people who just think transactionally, like we all know who they are, not going to name anybody, but like we all know who they are and we don't want to do business with them. So the top people are people who are great to do business with. You better believe we're going to bat for their buyers. You know, it goes a long way. So be nice, work hard. What you're doing now shows up in 90 days. So sometimes it feels like I'm going to all these happy hours, you know, I'm leaving my family all the time. I'm not showing houses, but I'm going to my board meeting, whatever I'm doing. And all of a sudden one day you like look up, and Keller Williams would always say this whole like gradually, then suddenly, like it's like any other goal, building a business, weight loss, whatever you're trying to do. Like it's like you do the little things every day. And then one day you wake up and you're like, holy crap, why are people interviewing me? Like, I don't know, you know, but it's true. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Great response to that question. And obviously I don't think anybody thinks it's an accident that you guys have won that award. So anybody have a question? Miranda, Lindsay, Patrick, have another one?
You said that you are involved in every transaction. So every deal that you guys have going on, you have a group text with that team member. Is that correct?
So I'm copied. So our transaction coordinator sends like all the emails, et cetera. I'm like CC'd on them. So I'm not like pushing the ball, if that makes sense. So like, I don't respond to everything. That'd be insane. But at the end of the day, like I'll end up with 80 emails. And this is where my business coach is trying to push me out of this, right? Like he's like, you got to stop being copied on these things. But like I get more anxiety if I see that's on the calendar that the clear to close was due today. And I don't see an email that says that, you know, whatever, Apache is clear to close. Like I need to see that. So that's my own like craziness. But yes, I am involved. I'm not the one pushing the ball, but I'm like aware of. Some team leads are like, they don't know. I like to know. It like helps with my anxiety to know, if that makes sense.
The other question I had was, so my team, we have a group text, but you do Voxer. So why that versus just a group text?
Because I can set up 100 different, I don't know how you can see this. I hate this. Anyway, I can do like Ann Wriggling, Realtor Girl, she's on my team. So I've got an Ann Wriggling listing thread. I have an Ann Wriggling pending thread. So our listing coordinator, myself and Ann are on the listing one. Our transaction person is on that thread. And then I have like my whole team, my admin team, whatever, each individual person. But Voxer is an audio messaging app. So you can, we're all driving. And so I'm like literally driving, like, and I'm like, do not call me. So I say, hey guys, I was on this awesome, you know, podcast or whatever this is called. Like, you know, here's the link or whatever. So I can just message them like, hey guys, I just left this inspection and we need to get a roofer over there. I can audio message them while I'm driving so I don't have to read things. And then all the messages are saved. So I can go, you can do text, audio, or pictures. So I can go back through each thread. And then that way, I don't know about you, Miranda, but like your text messages are bogged down. So all my text messages, if they're with a client, I save clients as house emojis. So like I can tell, I don't know if you can see this, but like when I save a contact, okay, I don't know, sorry how the light is working. When I save a contact, it's a house emoji. So when I get off this call and I have 35 text messages, I go for the house emojis first, because that's clients. So I have to respond to them first. Then I go for like personal stuff or kid stuff, or no offense to them, next. And then I go into Voxer, like what's going on my team, specifically as team lead that I need to manage. And I check that every 2 to 3 hours so that if somebody on my team calls or texts me, I know that they need me ASAP. Voxer is like a great way to keep it all in this one place, like not in my text messages, because I can't have like 89 text messages in 1 hour. I hate group text for that reason. It gives me like, this is a lot of therapy because it's about anxiety, right? Like it's like making sure I don't drop a ball. And so Voxer is this place for all this internal communication. And the audio piece of it is amazing because I don't want anyone texting and driving. And we all know that all we do all day is drive and like stuff food in our face. And that's what we do. So.
Good questions. Patrick says, as you continue to grow, what's the first part of the business you feel you have to take a step back on?
Probably the social media. I need more grab and go content. So I want to continue to be the one who like posts it because I want to hold it because I like it, but I need more leverage on the marketing and the grab and go. That's probably what I need to take the most step out of. And then last year I started integrating Tracy more into the listing side on some of our higher end listings that require like agent present, or like you have to meet the appraiser, like certain price point, there are certain expectations. So I pulled her in on co-lists on that now so that she can, obviously I co-serve the buyers, but on a lot of listings, I've been pulling in like, Anne specializes in certain areas. Real estate is so hyper local that we try to match our clients with an expert either in that life phase or that neighborhood, whatever we can do to provide them the best match. So pulling in my colleagues to do co-lists, getting more grab and go content, those are probably the two biggest next steps. Awesome. And I'd love to have more time. Like I am passionate. We were at the Circle of Excellence after party and a colleague is expecting her first and second baby at the same time. And I have to tell you, everything I've learned in real estate is most people, when they're in the phase of growing their family, are not growing their business. And I am super passionate about the fact that you shouldn't have to choose. And you should be able to do both. And a lot of the realtors who are a generation older than us who are having this conversation, a lot of the women specifically put their licenses in escrow. They didn't build their team. They waited till their kids were a certain age. I'm hoping to be retired by the time my kids are that age. Like, I don't want to be 58 years old or, I don't know, whatever, 60 years old. And all of a sudden starting to grow my business. I want to do it now while I'm young and have the energy. And I want to reap the rewards of it when I'm that age. So.
Sorry, I got tired typing. What is the percentage of your business in Northern Kentucky?
Oh gosh. I also should be better at numbers. Well, last year we closed the year at 76.5 million. And I think we did like 20 million that I can tie back to Tracy, but not all of that was in Kentucky. So probably call it 12 to 13 million was in Kentucky. I'd have to pull my pipeline to tell you that. But I mean, before that was all business, like I said, that we were just letting go out the door. And so we've really, because our Instagram is the Home Suite Cincinnati. And when Tracy was she went from being our client coordinator to a rock star sales woman on our team. And I'm like, grab Home Suite NKY. Not nobody, some people are, but a lot of people are not marketing in Kentucky. But I know other teams have tried to kind of do this Kentucky specialist thing. It's kind of become a trend. But if you don't have someone who's boots on the ground, like Tracy lives in Fort Thomas, she volunteers at her school, she's hyper invested in that community. The business strategy would not work if she were not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it works. Like I couldn't just all of a sudden open the Megan Stacey group, Northern Kentucky, without Tracy, which is why, like I said, it has to make business sense for her to be there, but Kentucky just doesn't unfortunately hold as high of a price point for us yet. So we're doing a lot more work, since this is between realtors mostly, we're doing a lot more work for the volume in Northern Kentucky because the average sale price, unless someone gets us into the luxury market over there, is a lot lower than it is in Cincinnati, which is why she ultimately got her Ohio license too, because she realized she could, really up her price point that way. So
that's a good growth objective, because I'm sure that Kentucky passed a law where there's not going to be a state income tax in the next couple of years. So I could see a mass exodus across the river.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
I think I'm staying, as much as I love our Kentucky folks. I don't like bridges. I don't know. She always laughs because she's like, I go across the bridge 18 times a day. I'm like, I try to go like once a week across the bridge, like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. So she likes specializing there, and I'm like, go for it, girl.
Yeah.
Get it.
Any other questions for Megan? Megan, I'm glad that I was persistent, and I'm glad that I was sitting there in my brother's living room, and Megan said to me, my sister-in-law, "Do you know Megan Stacey?" And I was like, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to get her to
Here
be a
she
guest."
is.
Yeah. So I appreciate it, the opportunity to speak with you, and I think this has been good. I think the questions have been phenomenal. Next week is Miranda, who I also was persistent after trying to get her to be a guest, and so I'm excited about that. It's been an honor, and I enjoy this. Lisa Fair, I ran into her this weekend, and she asked me, who's been your favorite guest? And I was like, you know what? I honestly don't know that I could tell you, because I have learned something from every single one of them. You mentioned, a couple of minutes ago, just putting your career on hold to raise your family. And I remember week 2, Julia Wesselkamper said that she hired her mom so that she could ride in the back of the car and nurse their son while her mom drove her to appointments so that she could continue to sell. So, I think that's huge. And just obviously, as a top producer, you're an example for everyone. Patrick said, doesn't everyone close deals while in labor?
Hopefully not me anymore, Patrick. Hopefully that ship has sailed. But no, I think it is what works for some people. That's what's so cool. All your guests, like, different strategies work for different, agents. And that's what's awesome about our business, is everyone can have their own model, and it doesn't have to be a fit for everybody. So that's exciting to see.
Yep. Well, I want to close with this and tell everyone thank you for being here. Again, next week, we've got Miranda Bidenharn, and I appreciate everyone being here. Megan, thanks for being my guest this week.
Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day. We'll see you. Thanks.
Take care.